The silence of space, they say, is deafening, but it's the memories, not the silence, that haunt me. A past I can't outrun. Not even here, at the edge of our solar system, can I escape them. Here on Charon, Pluto's largest moon, the past and the present intertwine, a dance of shadows under the faint sunlight. My name is Dr. Ethan Cole, astrophysicist, explorer, and now, it seems, a castaway. The pride of the Helios project, I was chosen for this solo mission, a 5-year journey to study the moon's composition, its interaction with Pluto, and the mysterious energy readings we'd detected from Earth. A grand endeavor, a chance to make history. Or so I thought. The Helios, my home for the past 2 years, now lies lifeless, its hull marred by the impact that crippled its systems. A freak micrometeoroid strike, they said from Mission Control, a 1 in a million chance. But that 1 in a million chance has left me marooned, my lifeline severed, my future uncertain. The view from my shelter, a cramped module detached from the Helios, is both breathtaking and chilling. Pluto, a dwarf planet shrouded in mystery, looms large, its icy heart reflecting the scant sunlight. The moon itself is a desolate landscape, a frozen expanse of craters and canyons bathed in an eternal twilight. The beauty of it all is a cruel facade, a mask that hides the harsh reality of my situation. The supplies I salvage from the Helios will last me a few months, perhaps a year if I ration carefully. But rescue is unlikely, a distant hope in the vast emptiness of space. The distress beacon I activated is a feeble cry in the cosmic wilderness, its chances of being heard slim to none. But I am not one to surrender to despair. I am a scientist, a problem solver, and I will find a way to survive. I will study this moon, unlock its secrets, and perhaps uncover a path back home. And yet, there's a nagging unease, a feeling that I'm not truly alone. The energy readings that brought me here, the anomalies, they whisper of something more, something lurking beneath the surface of this frozen world. The first few days after the accident were a scramble for survival. I inventoried the remaining supplies, set up the solar panels to recharge the module's batteries, and established a rudimentary communication system, hoping against hope for a response from Earth. As the initial shock subsided, the grim reality of my predicament settled in. I was alone, stranded on a barren moon billions of miles from home, with no guarantee of rescue. The isolation was crushing, the silence a constant companion. But I refused to succumb to despair. I was a scientist, and I would approach this challenge with the same rigor and discipline I applied to my research. I began by exploring my surroundings, venturing out of the module in my bulky spacesuit, each step a crunching sound in the eerie stillness. The landscape was stark and alien, a frozen wasteland of craters and canyons bathed in the faint light of a distant sun. The gravity, a mere fraction of Earth's, made me feel strangely light, each movement an exaggerated dance. During my excursions, I collected samples of the moon's surface, analyzing them in the lab I'd set up in the module. The data I gathered was intriguing, hinting at a complex geological history, with traces of minerals and compounds that shouldn't exist on such a frigid world. But it was the energy readings that truly captivated me. The anomalies I'd detected from Earth were even stronger here. One day, as I was examining a particularly perplexing energy spike, movement caught my eye. I looked up and saw a figure standing on the rim of a nearby crater, silhouetted against the dim light. It was tall and slender, with long spindly limbs and a bulbous head that seemed to glow. I froze, unsure if I was hallucinating from the stress and isolation. The figure remained motionless, its gaze fixed on me. I cautiously reached for my communicator, but before I could activate it, the figure vanished, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as it had appeared. I was left shaken, questioning my sanity, wondering if I'd truly seen what I thought I had. The encounter, whether real or imagined, changed everything. I was no longer alone in my solitude. Something else was out there, something unknown, something that observed me from the darkness. The energy readings, the anomalies, they suddenly took on a new meaning. Driven by curiosity, I increased the frequency of my excursions. Each time I ventured out, I scanned the horizon, half expecting, half dreading another glimpse of the figure. The energy readings continued to spike. One day, as I was collecting rock samples near a particularly deep chasm, I heard a sound, a faint, rhythmic clicking that seemed to rise from the depths. I paused, my pulse quickening, and strained to listen. The clicking grew louder, closer. I cautiously approached the edge, peering down into the darkness. In the dim light, I could just make out a shape moving along the chasm's wall, descending with an uncanny agility. It was the figure again, its limbs gripping the rock face with dexterity. I watched in stunned silence as it reached the bottom, then turned and looked up at me. The distance was too great to make out its features clearly, but I could sense its gaze, a cold, piercing scrutiny that sent shivers down my spine. I raised my hand in a tentative greeting, but the figure didn't respond. It simply stood there, watching, before turning and disappearing into a crevice in the chasm wall. I returned to the module shaken, my mind racing with questions. Who or what was this figure? What did it want? And why had it chosen to reveal itself to me? I pored over my data, searching for clues, for any hint of an answer. The energy readings offered a tantalizing possibility. The figure's appearance seemed to coincide with the most intense spikes, as if its presence was somehow linked to the energy source. Could this figure be the source of the anomalies, the key to unlocking the secrets of this moon? Days turned into weeks, and still the figure remained elusive. I continued my explorations, mapping the surface, studying its composition and tracking the energy readings. I even attempted to communicate with the figure, leaving messages and symbols near the chasm, hoping for some kind of response. But my efforts were met with silence. One evening, as I was reviewing my notes, a faint glow caught my attention. I looked up and saw a light emanating from the chasm that seemed to beckon me. I hesitated, unsure if I should investigate. But the allure of the unknown proved too strong. I grabbed my equipment and headed towards the chasm. As I approached, the glow intensified, casting shadows on the moon's surface. I reached the edge and peered down. The light was coming from the crevice where the figure had disappeared, illuminating the darkness with radiance. Taking a deep breath, I began my descent into the chasm, my heart pounding with excitement. I knew that I was entering the unknown, that I was venturing into a realm where the rules of science and reason might not apply. The descent was treacherous, the chasm's walls slick with ice and loose rock. I moved cautiously, using my suit's magnetic boots to maintain purchase, my headlamp cutting a swath through the gloom. The glow intensified as I neared the bottom, revealing a cavernous chamber hidden within the chasm's depths. The light seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. In the center of the chamber, beneath a cascade of light, stood the figure. It was taller than I'd realized, its slender form reaching almost to the ceiling. Its limbs were impossibly thin, its head disproportionately large, bathed in a halo of light that obscured its features. It turned to face me, its movements fluid and graceful. "Welcome, Dr. Cole," a voice said, resonating through the chamber. It wasn't a voice I heard with my ears, but rather a sensation, a vibration that resonated within my skull. I stumbled back, startled, my hand instinctively reaching for my weapon. "Who are you?" I managed, my voice a hoarse whisper. "I am Lumin," the voice replied, the vibrations growing stronger. "And you are my guest." I stared at the figure, my mind reeling. "You're an alien." "That is a term you humans use to describe those who are different," the voice said. "But yes, I am not of your species." "What do you want?" I asked, my fear giving way to curiosity. "I want to understand," the voice replied. "To learn about your world, your species, your purpose." "Why?" I asked. "Because I am alone," it said, the vibrations in my skull carrying a hint of sadness. "And I seek connection." I hesitated, unsure how to respond. This was not the encounter I had anticipated. I had expected hostility, aggression, not a plea for companionship. "You're alone?" I asked. Yes, it replied. I have existed here for eons, observing, studying, but never interacting, until now. I looked at the figure bathed in light and saw not a monster but a being reaching out for understanding, a being as lost and isolated as I was. I'm alone too, I said, my voice barely a whisper. A wave of vibrations coursed through me, conveying a sense of empathy, of shared solitude. Then perhaps, Lumin said, we can help each other. I took a step forward, extending my hand. Perhaps we can. Over the following days, I descended into the chasm multiple times. The initial apprehension faded, replaced by a burgeoning curiosity and an unexpected camaraderie. Lumin was a being of pure energy that had somehow become intertwined with the moon itself. Its knowledge was vast, spanning eons of observation and contemplation. Later it revealed that the tall, slender figure I had first glimpsed was merely an illusion, a projection designed to test my reaction, to gauge my intentions. In its true form, it was formless, a consciousness woven into the fabric of the moon itself. Our interactions were a curious mix of scientific discourse and philosophical pondering. I shared with Lumin the history of humankind, our triumphs and follies, our hopes and fears. Lumin, in turn, offered insights into the cosmos, the nature of existence, and the interconnectedness of all things. One day, as we were discussing the concept of time, Lumin revealed a startling truth. Your species is not the first to visit this system, it said, its voice a wave of vibrations in my mind. What? I exclaimed, incredulous. There were others? Yes, it confirmed. Long ago, a civilization far more advanced than yours ventured here. They called themselves the Architects. The Architects? I repeated, intrigued. What happened to them? They are gone, Lumin said, a hint of sorrow in its voice. They vanished as mysteriously as they appeared, leaving behind only traces of their existence. Traces? I asked, my heart racing with excitement. What kind of traces? Artifacts, it replied. Structures, machines, remnants of a technology far beyond your comprehension. I was stunned. The Architects? An advanced civilization that had visited Charon? Could this be the source of the energy readings, the anomalies that had brought me here? Where are these artifacts? I asked, barely able to contain my eagerness. Scattered, Lumin replied. Hidden beneath the surface, buried in the ice, but I can help you find them. A thrill of anticipation surged through me. This was it, the breakthrough I had been hoping for. The Architect's technology could hold the key to repairing the Helios, to sending a distress signal, to returning home. I'm ready, I said. Show me. Lumin led me on a series of expeditions, guiding me to locations where the Architects had left their mark. We discovered ruins of once grand structures, fragments of machinery, and inscriptions in a language I couldn't decipher. Each discovery fueled my hope, my belief that I could find a way out of this predicament. As we explored, I learned more about the Architects, their culture, their technology, and their ultimate fate. They had been a peaceful race, driven by a thirst for knowledge and a desire to uplift other civilizations. But their quest for enlightenment had led them down a dangerous path, a path that ultimately resulted in their demise. Lumin's warnings were dire. The Architect's technology, while advanced, was also unstable, unpredictable. It had the potential to create as well as destroy, and if I wasn't careful, I could end up sharing their fate. But I was undeterred. The risk was worth the reward, and I was determined to uncover the secrets of the Architects, not just for my own survival, but for the sake of all humankind. The ruins we found were awe-inspiring and unnerving in equal measure. Massive structures of metal and crystal jutted from the ice, their surfaces incised with symbols and patterns. Some seemed to have served as dwellings, others as laboratories or observatories. All were eerily silent, monuments to a vanished civilization. Among the ruins, we found tools and devices. There were orbs that pulsed with light, rods that hummed with energy, and panels covered in glowing runes. Lumin, with its vast knowledge, provided context and explanations, but much of the technology remained enigmatic, its purpose shrouded in mystery. One day, as we were exploring a particularly large ruin, Lumin led me to a chamber deep beneath the ice. The air was frigid, the silence absolute. At the center of the chamber, resting on a pedestal of crystal, was a sphere, about the size of a basketball, its surface smooth and reflective. "This is it," Lumin said, its voice filled with excitement and apprehension. "The heart of their technology, the nexus of their power." I cautiously approached the sphere, drawn by its allure. As I reached out to touch it, a jolt of energy surged through me, sending a shockwave through my body. Images flooded my mind, a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds, of alien landscapes and unfamiliar beings. When I regained my senses, I was lying on the ground, my heart racing, my breath coming in gasps. Lumin was beside me, its energy fluctuating with concern. "Are you all right?" it asked. I don't know," I stammered, still dazed. "I saw something." "I know," it said. "It is the archive, the repository of the architect's knowledge. It contains everything they learned, everything they experienced." "Can we access it?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "It is possible," it replied, "but it is also dangerous. The knowledge within is vast, overwhelming. It could shatter your mind." I hesitated, weighing the risk against the potential reward. The secrets of the architects could hold the key to my salvation, but they could also be my undoing. "I have to try," I said, my resolve firm. "I have to know." Lumin looked at me with admiration and apprehension. "Very well," it said, "but be warned, the path you are choosing is dangerous." I began the process of accessing the archive. It was a slow, painstaking endeavor, requiring me to interface with the sphere using a series of neural implants. As I researched deeper into the archive, I encountered wonders and horrors beyond imagination. I saw the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, the endless cycle of creation and destruction. The knowledge was overwhelming, but I persevered, driven by an insatiable thirst for understanding. And as I learned more about the architects, their technology, and their ultimate fate, a chilling realization dawned upon me. Their demise had not been an accident, nor had it been a natural disaster. They had been destroyed by their own creation, consumed by the power they sought to harness. And now, that same power lay within my grasp, a double-edged sword that could either save me or damn me. The revelation of the architect's fate weighed heavily on me. I now understood the true nature of the power I held in my hands, a power that could either uplift humanity or lead to its destruction. The enormity of the responsibility filled me with both awe and trepidation. Lumin, sensing my inner turmoil, offered guidance and counsel. It shared stories of the architects' hubris, their pursuit of knowledge that ultimately blinded them to the potential consequences of their actions. It spoke of the importance of balance, of respecting the delicate equilibrium of the universe. Despite the warnings, I couldn't ignore the potential benefits of the architect's technology. The Helios remained crippled, my only connection to Earth severed. If I could harness even a fraction of their power, I could repair the ship, send a distress signal, and perhaps even discover new revolutionary advancements for mankind. I began experimenting with the artifacts we had collected. We carefully studied their function, their mechanisms, and the energy signatures they emitted. We discovered that the sphere, the archive, was not just a repository of knowledge, but also a control unit, a key that could unlock the full potential of the architect's technology. Our progress was slow and fraught with setbacks. The energy fluctuations were unpredictable, the systems unstable. Several times, I narrowly escaped serious injury when an experiment went awry. But with each failure, I learned and grew closer to my goal. As my understanding of the technology deepened, I began to see a path forward. I realized that I didn't need to replicate the architect's grand designs. I simply needed to adapt their principles, their knowledge, to my own needs. I focused my efforts on the communication array, a massive structure that had once served as the architect's interstellar communication hub. I modified the array, rerouting its energy flow and adjusting its frequency. And then, one fateful day, a miracle occurred. A faint signal crackled through my headphones, a voice speaking in a language I recognized. It was Mission Control, their message garbled and faint, but unmistakable. I had made contact with Earth. The news filled me with elation and relief. I was no longer alone, no longer a castaway adrift in the cosmos. I had a lifeline, but my joy was short-lived. As I listened to the message, I realized that the situation on Earth had changed drastically in my absence. A global conflict had erupted, resources were scarce, and communication with deep space missions had been deemed a low priority. Rescue was still a distant prospect. The news was a blow, a reminder of the harsh realities of the universe. I knew then that my mission had taken on a new dimension. I was no longer just fighting for my own survival. I was fighting for the future of humanity. I turned my attention back to the architect's technology. I knew that the answers I sought, the key to saving both myself and my species, lay hidden within the ruins of this ancient civilization. I redoubled my efforts to decipher the secrets of the architects. We spent countless hours in the ruins, meticulously examining each artifact, each inscription, each fragment of technology. We discovered that the architect's power source was not based on conventional energy sources, but rather on something they called quantum resonance. It was a form of energy that could be harnessed from the fabric of space-time, a limitless source of power that held the potential to transform civilizations. But quantum resonance was also inherently unstable, prone to catastrophic fluctuations. The architects had developed systems to control and stabilize this energy, but their safeguards had ultimately failed, leading to their downfall. I knew that if I wanted to harness this power, I would need to find a way to mitigate the risks, to create a fail-safe mechanism that would prevent a similar disaster from befalling me. The answer came from an unexpected source. While exploring a subterranean complex, we stumbled upon a chamber filled with strange, organic growths. They were masses of translucent tissue, connected to a network of energy conduits that crisscrossed the walls. Lumin explained that these were bioorganic regulators, living organisms that had been genetically engineered by the architects to stabilize quantum resonance. They acted as a feedback loop, absorbing excess energy and dissipating it harmlessly. The discovery was a revelation. I realized that I could use these regulators to create a safety net for my own experiments, a way to control the power of quantum resonance without risking a catastrophic overload. I carefully extracted samples of the regulators, studying their structure, their genetic makeup, and their interaction with quantum energy. I then set about replicating their function, using the limited resources at my disposal. It was a painstaking process filled with trial and error, but after weeks of work, I finally succeeded in creating a prototype regulator, a bioorganic circuit that could interface with the architect's technology and stabilize its energy output. My first test was a success. I used the regulator to power a small device, a simple sensor array without any adverse effects. The energy flow was smooth, stable, and controllable. Emboldened by my success, I began scaling up my experiments. I repaired the Helios's damaged systems, reactivated its communication array, and sent a detailed report of my findings to Earth. I also began exploring the potential applications of quantum resonance, from energy generation to propulsion to medical advancements. The power I was wielding was immense, and the consequences of misuse could be dire. I knew that I had to proceed with caution, with wisdom, and with a deep respect for the delicate balance of the universe. As the days stretched into weeks, I made significant headway in my research. The regulator prototypes proved to be a success, effectively dampening the wild fluctuations of quantum resonance and allowing for a more controlled energy output. Utilizing this newfound stability, I focused on upgrading the Helios communication systems. With each modification, the signal to Earth grew stronger, clearer. I relayed my findings, the knowledge gleaned from the archive, and the potential of the architect's technology. The response from Earth was a mixture of disbelief and cautious optimism. While awaiting further instructions, I researched deeper into the archive, seeking solutions for the problems plaguing Earth. The architects had faced similar challenges: dwindling resources, environmental degradation, and social unrest. Their solutions, while often radical, were nonetheless ingenious and thought-provoking. I shared these insights with Earth, proposing innovative approaches to energy generation, resource management, and conflict resolution. My suggestions were met with skepticism by some, but others saw the potential for a paradigm shift, a chance to break free from the self-destructive patterns of the past. As I immersed myself in the architect's knowledge, I couldn't help but notice a growing unease in Lumin. Its normally serene demeanor was now subtly anxious, its energy patterns fluctuating. When I inquired about its disquiet, it hesitated before revealing a disturbing truth. The architect's downfall, it explained, had not been solely due to their technological hubris. There had been another factor, a force that had preyed on their weaknesses, exploited their vulnerabilities, and ultimately driven them to ruin. This entity, Lumin explained, was not of this dimension. It existed in the shadows, feeding on fear, discord, and despair. It had been drawn to the architect's burgeoning power, their growing reliance on quantum resonance. And now it sensed a similar energy signature emanating from us. I had been so focused on harnessing the architect's technology that I had failed to consider the potential consequences. Had I inadvertently opened a door to a dark dimension, a realm of shadows and malevolence? Lumin assured me that it was not too late. The entity was still weak, its influence limited, but it was growing stronger, feeding on the chaos and conflict that engulfed Earth. If I wanted to protect myself and humanity, I would need to sever my connection to the architect's technology, to extinguish the beacon that was drawing the entity to this world. The choice was agonizing. On one hand, the architect's knowledge held the promise of a better future, a chance to solve the problems that plagued mankind. On the other, it could also be our undoing, a gateway to a darkness that could consume us all. I wrestled with the dilemma for days, torn between hope and fear, between ambition and caution. But in the end, I knew what I had to do. I made the decision to dismantle the communication array, to sever the link between Charon and Earth. It was a painful choice, a sacrifice of potential progress, but it was a necessary one. I could not risk unleashing a force that could destroy everything I held dear. As I deactivated the array, a wave of sadness came over me. I had come so far, achieved so much, only to be forced to abandon my dreams of a brighter future. But I knew in my heart that I had made the right decision. I turned to Lumin, my eyes filled with regret. "I'm sorry," I said. "I have to do this." It nodded. "I know," it said. "It is the only way." With a heavy heart, I initiated the shutdown sequence. The lights in the array dimmed, the hum of energy subsided, and the connection to Earth faded into silence. I had made my choice. And now, I could only hope that it was enough to protect us from the darkness that lurked in the shadows. With the communication array dormant, an eerie quiet settled upon the moon. The energy signature dimmed, mirroring my own feelings of isolation and uncertainty. The days that followed were a somber time. I dismantled the laboratory, stowing the salvaged components and data logs in the module. I rationed the remaining supplies, meticulously calculating how long they would sustain me until a potential rescue mission arrived. Despite the setback, I refused to give up hope. I spent my days studying the bioorganic regulators, seeking ways to refine and improve their design. I theorized that if I could create a portable version, I could venture deeper into the ruins, explore areas that were previously off-limits due to unstable energy fluctuations. Lumin, despite its apprehension, continued to assist me. It shared fragments of the architect's knowledge, cryptic clues and warnings that hinted at the true nature of the entity lurking in the shadows. The creature, it explained, was not a physical being but rather a parasitic consciousness, a force that fed on negative emotions, fear, anger, despair. The architects had unknowingly created a conduit for this entity through their experiments with quantum resonance. The entity had exploited their vulnerabilities, amplified their internal conflicts, and ultimately led to their demise. Lumin feared that I too was susceptible to the entity's influence. It warned me to be vigilant, to guard my thoughts and emotions, lest I become its next victim. I heeded the warnings, but I couldn't deny the growing unease at my core. I felt a constant subtle pressure in my mind, as if an unseen presence was probing my thoughts, testing my defenses. Despite the isolation and uncertainty, I found solace in the beauty of the moon. I spent hours gazing at the vast expanse of Pluto, its icy heart glowing faintly in the distance. I explored the moon's rugged terrain, marveling at its stark beauty and hidden wonders. One day, as I was hiking across a frozen plain, I noticed a strange formation in the distance. It was a series of concentric rings etched into the ice, radiating outward from a central point. As I drew closer, I realized that the rings were not natural formations, but rather the remnants of an ancient structure, buried beneath layers of ice and snow. Intrigued, I began excavating the site, carefully removing the frozen material. As I dug deeper, the outline of a massive circular platform emerged, its surface covered in strange symbols and markings. "This is a gateway," it said, its voice filled with awe, "a portal to another dimension." I looked at Lumin, my heart pounding with fear and fascination. "Another dimension," I repeated. "Yes," it confirmed. "The architects used these gateways to travel between worlds, to explore the vastness of the cosmos." A wave of vertigo came over me as I contemplated the implications. If this was indeed a gateway, could it be a way off this moon, a path back to Earth? Or was it a trap? A portal to the darkness that I had been trying to escape? The gateway remained inert, its markings shimmering faintly under my headlamp. I circled it, running gloved fingers over the alien symbols, a shiver of anticipation coursing through me. The potential for escape warred with the fear of the unknown. Lumin's energy stirred beside me, a mixture of caution and encouragement. "It needs a catalyst," it communicated, "energy to awaken its dormant circuits. If I could activate the gateway, perhaps I could control its destination, choose my path, rather than succumb to blind chance." I returned to the Helios, gathering the remaining power cells and the rudimentary tools I had salvaged. Back at the gateway, I worked feverishly, connecting the cells to the exposed terminals, hoping the architect's power source would be compatible. The air sizzled with electricity as I made the final connection. The symbols on the gateway flared, illuminating the surrounding ice with an ethereal glow. A low hum resonated from the structure, growing louder, more intense, until it filled the air with a deafening roar. The gateway warped the air above it, distorting it into an unrecognizable pattern. A sense of vertigo overwhelmed me as I gazed into the swirling vortex, a portal to an unknown destination. I hesitated. Was I ready to face the unknown, to gamble my fate on a technology I barely understood? Or was it better to remain on Charon, a prisoner of my own making, but at least safe from the horrors that might await me on the other side? The gateway beckoned. It was a potential path home, yet it could also be a descent into an abyss of cosmic horror. I found myself paralyzed, unable to make a decision, the weight of responsibility crushing me. Lumin, sensing my hesitation, approached me. "I can sense its presence," it said, its voice filled with a grim resolve. "The entity. It's drawn to the gateway, to the energy you've unleashed." Fear tightened its grip on my chest. "What can we do?" I asked. "There is only one option," it said. "I must seal the gateway. But to do so, I must draw the entity into myself." "No," I protested. "I won't let you sacrifice yourself." "There is no other way," it insisted. "It is my purpose, my burden to bear." Before I could argue further, Lumin surged towards the gateway, its energy coalescing into a blinding beam of light. The ground trembled as the entity fought to break free from its dimensional prison. A wave of despair washed over me as I watched Lumin struggle. It was a battle between light and darkness, a clash of cosmic forces that I was powerless to stop. With a final surge of energy, Lumin sealed the gateway, trapping the entity within itself. The light faded, the tremors subsided, and silence descended upon the ruins. I rushed to Lumin's side, but it was too late. The entity had consumed it, leaving behind only a husk of its former self. Its energy signature, once vibrant and warm, was now cold and lifeless. I fell to my knees, the weight of my failure crushing me. I had come to Charon seeking knowledge, seeking salvation, but all I had brought was destruction. I had unwittingly unleashed a force that had consumed my only companion, my only friend. The days turned into weeks, then months. I remained on Charon, burdened by the ghost of my past. I spent my days wandering the landscape, haunted by the memories of Lumin, of the hopes and dreams we had shared. The ruins of the architects stood as a monument to my folly, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of this world. The bioorganic regulators I had created withered and died, their purpose fulfilled. The Helios now served as my tomb, a prison in the vast emptiness of space. I had no way to repair its damaged systems, no way to contact Earth. I was truly alone, adrift in the cosmos, with only the ghosts of my past for company. I came to accept my fate. I was a prisoner of Charon, a guardian of the secrets it held. I would spend the rest of my days studying the ruins, seeking answers to the questions that still haunted me. But I knew that I would never escape the shadow of my past, the guilt and sorrow that consumed me. Lumin's sacrifice had saved Earth from a terrible fate, but it had cost everything. And so I remained on Charon, a solitary figure in a desolate landscape, a living monument to the folly of ambition and the enduring power of darkness.